Canto 7. 3 or 4 times in brotherhood, the two embraced and re-embraced, and then Sordello drew back and said, "Countryman, who are you?" Before those spirits worthy to be blessed had yet been given leave to climb this mountain, Octavian had laid my bones to rest. I am Virgil, and I am lost to heaven for no sin, but because I lacked the faith. In these words was my master's answer given. Just as man who suddenly confronts something too marvelous, either to believe or disbelieve, and so does both at once, so did Sordello. Then his great head lowered, and turning, he once more embraced my master, but round the knees, as a menial does his lord. Eternal glory of the Latin race, through whom our tongue made all its greatness clear. Of my own land, the deathless pride and praise. What grace or merit lets me see you plain, he said. And oh, if I am worthy, tell me if you come here from hell and from what pain. Through every valley of the painful kingdom I passed, my lord replied. A power from heaven marked me this road, and in that power I come. Not what I did, but what I left undone, who learned too late denies my right to share your hope of seeing the eternal sun. There's a place below where sorrow lies. In untormented gloom, its lamentations are not the shrieks of pain, but hopeless sighs. There do I dwell with souls of babes whom death bit off in their first innocence before baptism washed them of their taint of earth. There do I dwell with those who were not dressed in the 3 sacred virtues but unstained, recognized and practiced all the rest. But if you know and are allowed to say, show us how we may reach the true beginning of purgatory by the shortest way. We are not fixed in one place, he replied, but roam at will up and around this slope far as the gate, and I will be your guide. But the day is fading fast, and in no case may one ascend at night. We will do well to give some thought to a good resting place. Some souls are camped apart here on the right. If you permit, I will conduct you to them. I think you will find pleasure in the sight. What is it you say, my God asked? If one sought to climb at night, would others block his way? Or would he simply find that he could not? Once the sun sets, that noble soul replied, you would not cross this line, and ran his finger across the ground between him and my guide. Nor is there anything to block the ascent except the shades of night. They of themselves suffice to sap the will of the most fervent. One might indeed go down during the night and wander the whole slope, were he inclined to, while the horizon locks the day from sight. I heard my Lord's voice, touched with wonder, say, lead us to the place of which you spoke, where we may win some pleasure from delay. We had not traveled very far from there before I saw a hollow in the slope, such as one often finds in mountains here. There, said that spirit, where the mountain makes a lap among its folds. That is the place where we may wait until the new day breaks. The dell's rim sank away from left to right, a winding path, half level and half steep, led us to where the rim stood at mid-height. Indigo, phosphorescent wood, self-lit, gold, fine silver, white lead, cochineal, fresh emerald. The moment it is split, all colors would seem lusterless as shade if placed beside the flowers and grassy banks that made a shining of that little glade. Nor has glad nature only colored there, but of 1,000 sweet scents made a single earthless, nameless fragrance of the air. Salve Regina. From that green the hymn was raised to heaven by a choir of souls hidden from outer view by the glade's rim. Sirs, said that Mantuan, do not request that I conduct you there while any light remains before the sun sinks it to its nest. You can observe them from this rise and follow their actions better singly and in mass than if you moved among them in the hollow. He who sits highest with the look of one ashamed to move his lips when others praise, in life left undone what he should have done. He was the Emperor Rudolph, whose high state could once have stayed the death of Italy. Now, though another try, it will be too late. That one who comforts him ruled formerly the land where rise the waters that flow down the Moldau to the Elbes to the sea. He was Ottokar, and more respected and feared while still in diapers than his dissipated son Wenceslas is now with a full beard. That snub-nosed there who talks with head close pressed to the kindly looking one died while in flight, dishonoring the lily on his crest. Observe the way he beats his breast and cries, and how the other one has made his palm a bed to rest his cheeks on while he sighs. They are father and father-in-law of the plague of France. They know his dissolute and vicious ways, and hence their grief among these holy chants. The heavy-sinered one beside that spirit with the manly nose, singing in harmony, bore in his life the seal of every merit. And if that younger one who sits in place behind him had remained king after him, true merit would have passed from vase to vase, as it has not, alas, in their successors. Frederick and James possess the kingdoms now. Their father's better heritage none possesses. Rare is the tree that lifts to every limb the sap of merit. He who gives so wills that men may learn to beg their best from him. And what I say goes for that big-nosed one no less than for the other who sings with him. On his account Provence and Puglia mourn. By as much as Margaret and Beatrice must yield when Constance speaks her husband's worth, that much less than the tree the seedling is. See Henry of England seated there alone, the monarch of this simple life. His branches came to good issue in a noble son. The other lone one seated on the ground below the rest, and looking up to them, was the Marquis William Longsword, he who found such grief in Alessandria, for whose pride both Monferrato and Canavis cried. Canto 8. As the light fades, it was the hour that turns the memories of sailing men their first day out to home, and friends they sailed from on that morning's breeze, that thrills the traveler newly on his way with love and yearning when he hears afar the bell that seems to mourn the dying day. When I began, for lack of any sound, to count my hearing vain, and watched a spirit who signaled for attention all around. Raising his hands, he joined his palms in prayer and turned his rapt eyes east as if to say, I have no thought except that thou art there. Te lucus ante, swelled from him so sweetly. With such devotion and so pure a tone, my senses lost the sense of self completely. Then all the others with a golden peal joined the hymn and sang it to the end, their eyes devoutly raised to heaven's wheel. Reader, if you seek truth, sharpen your eyes, for here the veil of allegory thins and may be pierced by any man who tries. I saw that host of kings, its supplication sung to a close, stand still and pale and humble, eyes raised to heaven as if in expectation. I saw two angels issue and descend from heaven's height, bearing two flaming swords without a point, snapped off to a stub end. Green as a leaf is at its first unfurling, their robes in green, the wings that beat in blue, the flowing folds back, fluttering and whirling. One landed just above me, and one flew to the other bank. Thus, in the silent valley, the people were contained between the two. I could see clearly that their hair was gold, but my eyes drew back, bedazzled from their faces, defeated by more light than they could hold. They are from Mary's bosom, Sordello said, and come to guard the valley from the serpent that in a moment now will show its head. And I, not knowing where it would appear, turned so I stood behind those trusted shoulders and pressed against them icy cold with fear. Once more Sordello spoke. Now let us go to where the great souls are and speak to them. The sight of you will please them much, I know. It was, I think, but 3 steps to the base of the little bank, and there I saw a shade who stared at me as if he knew my face. The air was closing on its darkling hour, yet not so fast, but would it let me see at that close range what it had veiled before. I took a step toward him, he one toward me. Noble Judge Nin, how it rejoiced my soul to see you safe for all eternity. No welcome was left unsaid on either side. Then he inquired, how long since did you come to the mountain's foot over that widest tide? Oh, I replied, I came by the pits of woe this morning. I am still in my first life, though I gained the other on the road I go. He and Sordello, when they heard me thus answer the question, suddenly drew back as if surprised by something marvelous. One turned to Virgil, and one turned aside to a shade who sat near by. Conrad, get up. See what the grace of God has willed, he cried. And then to me, by all the thankful praise you owe to him who hides his primal cause so deep that none may ever know his ways. When you have once more crossed the enormous tide, tell my Giovanna to cry out my name there where the innocent are gratified. I do not think her mother cares for me, since she put off the weeds in the white veil that she will once more long for presently. She shows all men how long love's fire will burn within a woman's heart, when sight and touch do not rekindle it at every turn, nor will the Milanese vipers she must bear upon her tomb do her such honor in it as would Galura's cock emblazoned there. So spoke he, and his features bore the seal of that considered anger a good man reaches in reason and may rightly feel. I looked up at the heavens next, and eyed that center point at which the stars are slowest, as a wheel is next the axle. And my God, my son, what is it that you stare at so? And I at those 3 stars there, in whose light the polar regions here are all aglow. And he to me below the rim of space now ride the 4 bright stars you saw this morning, and these 3 have arisen in their place. Sordello started as my guide said this and clutched him. He pointed arm and finger, crying, our adversary, there he is. Straight through the valley's unprotected side a serpent came, perhaps the very one that gave the bitter fruit for which Eve cried. Through the sweet grass and flowers, the long sneak drew, turning its head around from time to time to lick itself as preening beasts will do. I did not see and cannot tell you here how the celestial falcons took to flight, but I did see that both were in the air. Hearing their green wings beating through the night, the serpent fled. The angels wheeled and climbed back to their posts again in equal flight. The shade the judge had summoned with his cry had not moved from his side. Through all that fray he stared at me without blinking an eye. So may the lamp that leads to what you seek find oil enough, he said, in your own will to light your way to the enameled peak.